I'm Arwan Ibrahim and today samahan nyo kami upang diskubrihin ang natatagong ganda ng ilan sa mga famous historical site dito sa Zamboanga City. So, let's go!
Hi, good day everyone. Hi, I'm Raston Rysel T. Rosales.
I'm Ashlyn M. Sally.
I am Mary Joy M. Fernandez. Amira Shima Barahama.
Magandang araw mga kaibigan. Ngayon tatalakayin natin kung kailan, saan, at sino ang nagpatayo ng Malacañang Palace at ano ang kahulugan nito sa atin bilang isang Pilipino. Ang Palasyo ng Malacañang ay ang opisyal na tahanan ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Sinisimbolo dito ang kapangyarihan bilang isang Pangulo ng bansa. Matatagpuan ang Malacañang Palace sa kalye Jose P. Laurel, San Miguel, Maynila na nakatayo sa gilid o sa pampang ng Ilog Pasig. Dito naninirahan ang lahat ng naging pinuno mula kay Gobernador General Rafael de Echagüe noong 1863 at hanggang sa kasalukuyan maliban sa isa, si General Emilio Aguinaldo. Ang malaking bahay na bato o ang malaking bahay na bato sa pampang ng Ilog Pasig ay tinatawag natin ngayong Malacañang Palace. Ipinatayo ito ni Don Luis Rocha noong gitnang bahagi ng ika-17 siglo. Si Don Rocha ay isang negosyante Espanyol at kanyang bahay na bato ay ginagamit lamang bilang isang bahay pahingahan dito sa ating bansa. Noong November 16, 1802, ipinagbili ni Don Rocha ang bahay na bato sa halagang, hulaan nyo daw, ipinagbili niya ito kay Coronel Jose Miguel Formento sa halagang 1,000 pesos lamang. Pwede kaya natin bilhin ito ngayon sa halagang yan? Tayo magpatuloy. Ipinagbili naman ng Coronel ang bahay na bato o ang Malacañang Palace ngayon sa pamahalaang kolonyal ng Espanya noong January 22, 1825 sa halagang nagmahal na, sana all nagmamahal, halagang 5,000 piso, 5,000 pesos. Ganun na pala kalaki ang 5,000 piso noon. Ngayon, paano na lang? 5,000 piso ngayon, parang barya na lang, di ba? Ginamit naman na bahay bakasyunan ng Gobernador General ang bahay na bato kung tag-araw. Noong 1863 ay nagkaroon ng isang lindol at winasak ng lindol ang bahay ng Gobernador General na nakatayo sa Intramuros. Kaya nagpa siya ang pamahalaang kolonyal ng Espanya na gawing tahanan ng Gobernador General ang bahay ng bato. Ito'y naging opisyal na palasyo at tirahan ng pinuno ng kolonya. Sinasabing ang Malacañang Palace o ang katagang Malacañang ay nagmula sa may lakan dyan, na ibig sabihin ay may isang lalaking matipuno na nakatira dyan. Nangangahulugang tirahan ito ng mataas na tao sa lipunan. Marami ang ginawang pagbabago sa palasyo mula nang ito'y bilhin ng pamahalaang kolonyal ng Espanya. Niluwangan nito ang azotea na nagtayo ng mga nasasakupang lupain ng palasyo at nagtayo rin sila ng mga bagong gusali. Nanirahan sa palasyo ng Malacañang ang 18 Gobernador General ng Espanya, kabilang na dito si Gobernador Rafael de Echagüe. at ang 14 na gobernador sibil ng Estados Unidos. Si Pangulong Manuel L. Quezon ang kauna-unahang pangulo na tumira sa Malacanang Palace. Ito ay tinirahan niya noong ika-1935. Ngayon, talakayin natin kung kailan ito ipinatayo. Ito ay ipinatayo sa ika-17 siglo. Bale, higit sa 200 taon na ang Malacanang Palace. Ito ay ipinatayo ni Don Luis Rocha at tinirahan ng kauna-unahang pangulo na si Manuel L. Quezon. Kauna-unahang pangulo na tumira sa Malacanang Palace. Si General Emilio Aguinaldo ang kaisa-isang pinuno na hindi tumira doon. Ang Malacanang Palace ay sinisimbolo ng ating mga nakaraan. Ang isang history na kung saan ginamit ang bahay na bato o Malacanang bilang tirahan ng matataas na pinuno ng Pilipinas. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Good day everyone. Now we will tackle about Rizal Park. Rizal Park, widely known as Luneta Park, is an iconic park that carries a rich history as it is the location where the national hero of the Philippines was executed, Dr. Jose Rizal. The park was also formerly known as Bagumbayan during the Spanish occupation in the Philippines. Rizal Park is one of the largest recreational parks in Asia. The 58-hectare park is situated at the northern part of Rojas Boulevard. It is surrounded by Taft Avenue, Padre Burgos Avenue, and Calao Avenue. Aside from Rizal Park, there are also nearby attractions like National Museum, National Museum of Anthropology, Manila Ocean Park, Intramuros, and a lot more. Aside from walk at the park, you can have your photograph taken with the iconic Rizal Monument, as it is the country's most visited and most photographed statue of all time. Since it is a historical site to you, you can also visit the spot where Dr. Rizal was executed. It is about a 100-meter distance walk from the Rizal statue. Along with this activity are the monuments that are worth visiting, like the huge statue of Lapu-Lapu, the Gallery of Heroes, where the sculpture of heroes across the country are situated. You can also see the tallest flagpole in the country and be amazed by the representation of the Philippine archipelago through its gigantic map. Luneta Park is a historic landmark in the heart of Manila, Philippines. This park, also known as Rizal Park, was built to honor our late national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. It was established to celebrate his contributions to the country, independence movement, and his advocacy for social reforms. Despite challenges, including damage during the World War II, Luneta Park was restored and has witnessed significant historical events. It serves as a venue for political rallies, cultural celebrations, and national commemorations. The park features beautiful gardens, monuments, and statues, paying tribute to important figures in Philippine history. The Rizal Monument, a towering bronze statue of Dr. Jose Rizal, is a symbol of heroism and a pilgrimage site. Luneta Park also remains a beloved destination, offering a peaceful retreat for leisurely walks, family picnics, and cultural events. That's all. Thank you.
we're going to find out what is the history of the Magellan Cross of Cebu City that is located in Visayas. Magellan Cross holds a very big, important history of Cebu City. It is believed to be a Christian cross planted by the Portuguese and Spanish, headed by our beloved Ferdinand Magellan. It was planted upon the arrival in Cebu on March 15, 1521. That day also marked the birth of Christianity in the land. According to the people of Cebu City, the original cross was believed by the people of old to have a miraculous healing powers, so they started shipping it away. Because of that, the government officials was prompted to supposedly encase it in another wooden cross that made from Indalo, and it is now housed in small chapel. Some people say that the original cross was destroyed or disappeared after the death of our Ferdinand Magellan. The Magellan Cross also symbolism and historical importance remain intact. The Magellan Cross is a testament to the birth of Christianity in Cebu City and enduring the spirit of faith.
Now, let's get going into our next topic, which is all about the ruins of the Talisay in Negros Occidental. The history of the ruins of Talisay in Negros Occidental is a captivating tale of love, loss, resilience, and architectural splendor situated in Talisay City. This iconic landmark stands as testament to the opulence and grandeur of a bygone era, while also bearing witness to the ravage of war and the passage of time. The story of the ruins Talisay begins in the early 20th century when Don Mariano Ledesma Lacson, a worthy sugar baron, built the mansion as a tribute to his beloved wife. Maria Braga, constructed between 1910 and 1920, the mansion was intended to be a symbol of their enduring love and the prosperity of the sugar industry in Negros Occidental. Designed by Italian architecture, the mansion boasted neoclassical architecture with imposing columns, intricate carvings, and spacious halls. It was adorned with luxurious furnishing, imported marble, and elegant chandeliers, reflecting the lavish lifestyle of its owners. Tragically, the mansion glory was short-lived during World War II as Japanese forces advanced through the Philippines. The mansion was set ablaze by retreating guerrilla fighters to prevent it from being used as military stronghold. Despite efforts to save the mansion, the fire consumed much of the structure, leaving behind only the skeletal remains of its majestic facade. In the aftermath of the war, the ruins of Talisay stood as the haunting reminder of the devastation wrought upon the region. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair, the ruins became a symbol of resilience and hope for the people of the Negros Occidental. Over the years, the ruins of Talisay have undergone restoration efforts to preserve their historical and architectural significance. Today, the site is a popular tourist destination, attracting visitors from far and wide who come to marvel in its beauty and learn about its storied past. The ruins of Talisay have also become a symbol of cultural pride for the people of Negros Occidental, serving as a backdrop for various events, celebration, and cultural activities. Festivals such as annual Dinagayang Festival showcase the vibrant heritage of the region, with the ruins providing a stunning backdrop for traditional dances, music, and performance. In addition to its cultural significance, the ruins of Talisay also had a special place in the hearts of romantics and story enthusiasts alike. The legend of Don Mariano and Maria Braga's enduring love continues to captivate imagination, adding an element of romance and nostalgia to the site. Now, the story of the ruins of Talisay is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring legacy of love and beauty in the face of adversity. As visitors wander through the crumbling halls and lush gardens of this iconic landmark, they are transported back in time to an era of elegance, romance, and architectural splendor.
Hi, good day everyone. I'm Arwan Ibrahim, and today we're going to dive in one of the most famous cultural heritage in the Mindanao, which is the Tinalak Weaving. The Tinalak is a sacred robe woven by the Tiboli people in the communities around the Lake Cebu, Mindanao Island, traditionally made by the women of the royal blood. Thousands of patterns that reference folklores and stories are known to the Tibolis woman by memory. Fudalo, a spiritual guardian, guides the Tinalak weaving, a process that is enriched with the tabo and the ritual. The Tinalak has a distinctive three-color scheme: white for the pattern, red for the relief elements, and black or deep brown for the background. Fibers used in weaving are harvested from the abaca tree and prepared in a process known as kedungot. Two metal blades are used to quickly remove the pulp and reveal the filament, which are worked by hands into fine threads. During tembong, an artisan will connect individual threads end to end. Emogo or dyeing is done in the ikat style using beeswax and natural pigments. Fibers are first boiled in a black dye for several weeks. Weaving one piece of cloth can take up to a month of uninterrupted work. The final stage in the process, semaki, involved varnishing the fabric, which Tinalak is used for ritual purpose as an offering to the spirit, and during the festival celebration, it is also exchanged between families for food and supplies in the Tibolis barter economy, which endures 2 days.
A pleasant day, everyone. I am Amira Shima M. Barahama, and my topic is about cultural heritage in Mindanao. The Tiboli are an indigenous group in Mindanao, Philippines. Specifically living in South Cotabato, they are known for their rich in cultural heritage, unique traditions, and artistic skills. The Tiboli people speak the Tiboli language, which is part of the Austronesian language family. It is characterized by its complex verbal system and distinct sounds. Music and dance. The Tiboli have a rich musical tradition with various instruments like the hegalong, a 3-string lute, and the kubing, a type of jaw harp. They also have intricate dances that are performed during festivals and important events. Tiboli Heritage Village. In Lake Cebu, South Cotabato, there is a Tiboli Heritage Village where visitors can learn about Tiboli culture, see traditional houses, and watch demonstrations of arts and crafts. Costumes and attire. Tiboli traditional attire is colorful and intricate, featuring beadworks, brass accessories, and unique designs. The women wear drap, skirt, and blouses adorned with vibrant patterns and embellishments. The Dream Weavers. The Tiboli are famous for their traditional weaving, particularly the tinalak cloth. Tinalak is made from abaca fibers and is hand-woven using a complex and time-consuming process. It is considered a sacred fabric and is often used in rituals and celebrations.